This video is designed and intended to be used in conjunction with a professional program of training and instruction, supervised by an experienced instructor. It is not intended to be used without proper supervision, proper equipment, and proper safety considerations. This video is not intended to be used in the home or by non-professionals without the aforementioned supervision and safety equipment. Engaging in the activities depicted and described in this video in any manner whatsoever constitutes a waiver and release of any and all claims against Ultimate Industries Incorporated, its subsidiaries, employees, officers, directors, distributors, and others involved in the production and distribution of this video for any and all injuries, damages, or other claims arising from any and all activity engaged in as a result of the viewing of this video, whether such an injury, damage, or claim arises at the time of said viewing or at a time subsequent thereto. Prior to engaging in any of the activities depicted on this video, the viewer should consult a physician and be in good health.
Хотите увидеть рестлинг? Молчать, ублюдки! Россия всегда будет номером один!
Ultimate Industries presents Ultimate Pro Wrestling Training. Welcome to Volume 1, Building a Foundation. On this tape, you will learn how the pros warm up and step-by-step instruction on performing basic moves like the collar and elbow tie-up, running the ropes, leapfrogs, and the all-important bump. Our Ultimate University campuses are located minutes away from the Pacific Ocean in Huntington Beach and Los Angeles, California. We are an official WWF development area, and we are widely considered by industry professionals to be the premier pro wrestling school in the nation. Your instructor is Tom Howard, a skilled veteran of countless matches performed around the world. Now to tell you more about Ultimate University is the brain behind the company, Rick Bassman.
Here are the things that you need to make it in the pro wrestling business. You need a good look. You need to be able to work inside of the ring. You have to understand how the audience works, how to adopt the psychology of a wrestling match, what's known as telling a story. You should be able to talk on the microphone and get your character across and really believe in your character so the audience believes that. So it's a combination of a lot of factors. These are all things that can be worked on. You can come in somewhat out of shape, and you better be willing to do everything you can to put your body in the best shape that it can get in. Be willing to do the work to develop a character, take 1,000 bumps and then 1,000,000 bumps and not complain about it, but come back for more to become a good worker. Study tapes, make it your craft, make it your life. Find out what it takes to understand an audience and how they're going to react to you. These are all things you can learn and bring to yourself over time. First and foremost, though, is the attitude. You've got to come in and be willing to give it everything and to do so with a positive attitude and sacrifice in the process. Or anybody watching out there, you've heard this 1,000 times, but please do not try this at home. Pro wrestling is one of the hardest things physically that anybody could ever do. Even given the proper circumstances, a good school with a good ring and good instructors, the chance for injury are still always there. Do not try this unless you're in the proper environment.
You can know all the moves in the world, but without cardiovascular conditioning, you won't be able to perform them. You may think that 10 minutes in a wrestling ring isn't long, but without cardio training, it will seem like an eternity. Now, let's go over to our Huntington Beach, California campus and your instructor, Tom Howard.
We demonstrate for you some of our warm-up drills. We use a variety of somersaults, three-quarter rolls, jumping in and out of the ring, backward somersaults, and actually the bump that we use in professional wrestling, or the fall, the back fall that we use in professional wrestling. We've combined those to make a drill that we use in the beginning of practice, and we'll break those down and demonstrate them for you right now. We're going to start out with the frontward roll. We've got Mikey Henderson here, and basically the technique used on this frontward roll is, rather than using open palms, you want to use fist, and you're pushing off with both feet at the same time rather than pushing with one foot first. You're putting your fist down, you're pushing off, you're frontward somersaulting, and you're rolling back your feet into a standing position. Mike will demonstrate for you. Okay, that's the technique for the frontward roll. Now we want to show the technique for the three-quarter roll. The three-quarter roll, if we could have, this is Chris Daniels. If we could have Chris demonstrate the three-quarter roll, you want to lead off on the three-quarter roll with the same foot and the same arm, whether it be left or right. You're rolling across your arm, across your shoulder, and rolling back to your feet on this. This is used in a lot of the falls that we use in professional wrestling. That was right, and if we could just demonstrate left. As you can see, he's using the same arm and foot, whichever roll he's going, whichever way he's going, he's using that arm and foot, whether it be right or left. Okay, now the third part of our drill is jumping in and out of the ropes. If we could have Stas, you want to demonstrate this? Basically, it's once you're in the corner here, placing both hands, one on each rope, and you're going to bend your knees and jump with both feet together over the rope, land to the outside. Okay, from there you're going to turn, switch your hands, and jump back in. Stas will demonstrate for you. Okay, now it's important that you learn how to do this to either side, as you may use either side in your wrestling technique. So you want to be able to do this to left or to right when you're exiting and entering the ring. Now, once you've come back into the ring, we're going to show the backward somersault. And the trick on this is, after you've jumped back in, to push off, drop to your rear end, push with your feet so that you make it back to where you hit your fist, push back, and land on your feet. And if we could have someone demonstrate this, Chris. We're going to have him start from the outside, jump, if you could, Chris, jump in and then go right into the backward somersaults. He's going to roll right into you. Good. And he's landing on his feet there, under control, ready for the next movement. Now, the reason we use these in practice, we beat the hell out of this drill in practice, is pretty much covers most every fall you'll be taking. One of the final falls we're going to demonstrate is the bump. And we'll get into that in detail. The bump is the back fall that's primarily used in professional wrestling. Good. Now, the concept on the back bump is that it's an explosive movement where he's attacking the mat. He's tucking his chin as he comes down, and he's essentially attacking the mat, hitting the upper region of his back, and leveling himself off with his arms as he hits. Now, that's pretty much all. Those are pretty much all the elements of our opening drill. We're going to go ahead and show the opening drill now, live speed with different participants, so you get an idea of exactly how it's performed. Okay, in discussing the back fall that we just demonstrated, the bump, we're going to show you a couple techniques that we use, or training techniques we use to prepare for doing that fall. The technique used on this is very important, and if you're not following every element of what we're showing you, the potential for injury is pretty great. We're going to start out with using your opponent or a partner in a technique. Basically, if we could have Frankie get on all fours. The first technique we're going to demonstrate here on the back fall is basically to sit on your partner's back, cross your arms, and then you're going to take the fall. Now, the important elements here are, number one, that you tuck your chin to your chest so you avoid hitting your head. And as you hit, you want to strike the mat with your palms. Avoid striking with your elbows, primarily your palms. And we're going to have that demonstrated, if we could. Chris, if you could. Good. Okay, now another technique that we use is actually a variation of the bump, which is to show the bump taken as a frontward somersault or frontward flip. And preparation for this, you basically push up into a handstand position. From the handstand position, you flip over and you want to land flat with your feet, your back, and your palms hitting all at the same time. Once again, tucking the chin and trying to make one hit. If you're hitting with two hits on this or you're rolling, then you're not doing it correctly. We're going to go ahead and demonstrate this as well. You know, you see all different levels of experience here, and you see some that are hitting once crisply, some that are rolling through. And you can see where you're gonna end up with this with time. The idea is, as you're hitting, you're arching your back, tucking your chin, making one hit. Of course, you're going to be able to level the blow by landing with your heels on the mat at the same time. It'll take a lot of the pressure off your back. For another technique, we want to demonstrate. If we could get Cranky, if you don't mind. Partner to go down again, and actually pushing off your partner's back into a flat position once again. And this is a little more of an advanced technique, but if we can go ahead and have whoever was interested in demonstrating this. Excellent. Good. Now you can see when they're pushing off here, they're working on getting a little bit of air, a little bit of lag time before they hit. And this is preparation for a lot of the other movements you'll do, primarily on tape 3, where you're pushing off, flying, and landing flat. Good. Okay. This takes us into the actual bump, the back bump, and we're going to have everyone walk through this. Now, there are some different methods of taking this as far as the techniques used. One of them is to go back and to actually slap this way, which levels the blow across your arms, your shoulders, and upper back, keeping most of the pressure off your lower back. The other one is to slap your wrist back this way, which alleviates elbow pain. In the first, you're going to find you'll slap your elbows a lot, and after years of doing this, as I've been doing it for several years, I can barely take the pain of having my elbows hit. So I do it a little different. I'll demonstrate how I do it. We'll have each person go through and demonstrate. What you're going to find in professional wrestling is as many people as there are that step in a ring that are trained professional wrestlers, you'll see probably that many different techniques. Everyone takes the basic techniques and they revise it to fit their body style, their individual wrestling technique. So we'll go ahead and demonstrate now. The bump, as I call it, that I use is, I'll start it off and we'll have everyone else show theirs. Okay, now we're going to show basically a movement feeding into a punch and each person taking that same fall. Tape 2, we cover striking, and you'll see basic techniques on these punches. So we want to go ahead and show the bumping portion of that, which is the fall taken, and we're going to go ahead and have each person feed in and take a punch and go into the bump to show the timing of the technique. If you want to feed in, I'll go ahead and throw the punches. Ready? Okay, the concept there is to show the timing involved. You're feeding in as you're coming into a punch, clothesline, whatever you're coming into, you're feeding in, you feel the movement, you feel the strike begin to touch you, and you take your fall. So we're going to demonstrate another technique used in training for the back falls or bumps we use in professional wrestling. This is actually a somersault into a back fall, and this can be done two different ways. One of them is to lead off with 1 foot at a time, kick over and land flat. The other is to push off with both at the same time, frontward somersault and land flat. Things to remember on this: number 1, tuck your chin to your chest so you avoid hitting your head. Number 2, to land with your feet at the same time as your back, flat. And number 3, to slap your palms as you land to spread the fall across your arms and upper back region. I'll go ahead and demonstrate, and we'll go through techniques. We're going to go ahead and cover how to run the ropes. The rings you're going to work in are going to be various lengths. Some are 16, some are 20 feet. So the number of steps you take is going to vary, and also depending on your height, of course. What we're going to mainly cover is the technique used to, as you're hitting the ropes, going back and forth. When you hit the rope, you're going to usually hit with your right foot, and this will be your pivot foot. You're going to go ahead and grab the rope, hit the pivot foot, turn towards the rope. You want to always have this arm over the rope as you hit. Turn, pivot, catch your foot, and then move forward. Footing again, pivot foot, turn, catch forward. Turn, catch forward. Basically, that's going to vary, as I said, depending on your height, how fast you're running, everything else, how many steps you're taking in between. Bottom line is, as you're getting close to the rope, you want to make sure that your pivot foot, your right foot, is about 2 to 3 feet away from the ropes. You're catching the rope with your right hand. You're turning. This foot is coming back and going back to a toe here to protect you from falling. You don't want to do this. You're going to be off balance. And you don't want to be too far back. You'll end up tripping yourself on the back of the apron. So you're catching against the rope, hitting, and then going forward. We're going to demonstrate to people running the ropes. Good. Okay, now, once you've covered basically how to run the ropes, I'm going to show how to push your opponent into the rope and actually throw your opponent in. The idea here is anytime you're pushed into the rope, you want to grab the rope so that you don't accidentally get pushed through. You can show how it works. You can get it pushed through if your arm's not over the top and you're not grabbing a hold of the rope. So anytime that you're fed into the rope, you need to hold on to the rope. Now, I'm always grabbing the same position here, which is his left hand, my left hand. We're going wrist to wrist, and I'm pushing against his chest right here. This is always the same, doesn't change. I'm stepping in my right foot, pushing him in here, and then feeding him off the rope. Okay, that's the basic push off or throw into the ropes. We're going to show the reversal now. There's two primary techniques used in reversal. The first one is as I push him in here, he's going to step across, hold on to my arm. I'm going to lean back until the arm's fully extended, and he's going to push me in. And I feed back in. Okay, now that's number one. Number two is to hold on to my hand with both of his hands, go back with his body, and fling me in. We'll show that. Yeah, now, obviously he needs to exaggerate the movement here. Yeah, he wants to exaggerate the movement here on these reversals so that if go ahead and throw me in. As I'm getting pushed in here, from this point forward, I'm exaggerating this movement and pushing him in full speed. It's once again, it's the body language, the exaggeration of the movement that's going to make this look powerful. To demonstrate the second version of. So we've shown the push-off and throwing techniques from rope to rope. We're going to show corner to corner now. We're also going to show some of the falls that are taken from the corners once you've been thrown into the corner. Same situation here. I'm grabbing the hand, putting my hand across his chest, throwing him in, and exaggerating the throwing movement, the pushing movement. And basically, when you're running this and you're in Frankie's position here, as you're approaching the corner, when you're about 3-4 feet away, you're turning, you're actually jumping, and you're trying to hit level between the middle and the top turnbuckle with your back. I'll demonstrate one time myself, and then I'll show with Frankie. So as I'm about 3 feet away, I turn, and I hit. Now that's a level hit, and as long as I'm hitting level with my lower back hitting the middle turnbuckle, my upper back hitting the top, and once again catching my hands around the ropes. Anytime you're hitting the ropes, I'd recommend grabbing a hold of the ropes so that you can avoid slipping through. It happens all the time, and the only way you're going to control it is to actually put your hands and your elbows whenever possible over the ropes. We'll go ahead and demonstrate this with Frankie. Okay, now, once you've hit that turnbuckle, it can be used for probably 20, 30 different moves from there, or transitions from there. One of the basics is just a face bump, and that's basically if I've taken him and I've thrown him extremely hard into the turnbuckle, he hits the turnbuckle and falls flat on his face. We're going to go ahead and demonstrate that. There's actually a technique used. Okay, now the fall that he's taking here, as you can see, he's landed with his right knee slightly bent to protect himself. He's come down, actually hit his face on the mat, and come down with his forearms to provide protection on his fall. The standard tie-up used in professional wrestling is called the collar and elbow tie-up. We're going to demonstrate it here, myself and Chris Daniels. Basically, you're starting off maybe 6 feet away from each other. You're circling 6 to 8 feet away throughout the ring. And then as you come in, you're feeding in, if you notice, both of us with the left foot. Now, we don't want to cross our feet here. We're going to end up with problems knocking knees, knocking heads. So we want to keep our feet probably about 6 inches away from each other, which would be natural if you're doing it correctly. And then it's a collar and elbow tie-up. Left hand goes to the collar, right hand goes to the elbow. And this is the technique used. Okay, now there's a slight looping of the arms as you come in. You'll see as we come in and do this. And a slapping, basically, ready? Okay, so we'll step back and do full speed. Okay, you notice a little slapping there. I'm coming back, basically applying a little bit of pressure, a little bit of pop here on the elbow. And he's doing the same thing on this side. It's a little bit stiff in the beginning and then a little bit loose so that you can work into your next movement. One more time. Okay, this is another drill we use here at Ultimate University, combining 3 of the most commonly used moves in professional wrestling. Tackle, drop down, leapfrog. Basically, we'll go through each one and then we'll show you the drill in its entirety. The tackle itself, we'll start off by throwing your opponent into the rope here. And then as he comes back and feeds in, my motion is continuing towards him. And then we're going left shoulder to left shoulder. Now you want to assume a position of an L with your arm. And as you hit, you want to basically slap your opponent on your back here. Your feet are basically crossing, just about touching to the crossing, depending on how you actually end up footwork position. Come on in here. And you're slapping as you hit. Now, the person in motion is generally going to knock the person down who's not in motion. That's the way it normally works, depending, of course, on size and the particular spot you're working. From here, from the tackle, your opponent is taking a fall to his back or a back bump. Okay? Then you're going to be running the ropes to the right. Okay? So once he's down on the ground, he's taking his bump, I'm turning, I'm running the ropes to the right, and he's doing what we call the drop down. Now the drop down is basically him attempting to trip you or tackle you. And as I run, he turns to his belly to the right and attempts to trip me, and I'm going to jump over him. Okay? Now he's going to turn, get up and face me, and we're going to go into what's called the leapfrog. And that's after I've come off this rope, I come through, he jumps, and I go underneath him. Okay? And then we're going to go right back into the drill, but it'll be reversed this time. You'll see, because I'm going to go underneath him. He's going to turn, and then he'll take the tackle. Tackle, drop down, into the leapfrog. Okay, we'll demonstrate at full speed. From the top position here, I'm from the ropes. Okay, basically you can use that all day long. You do those 10 times back to back. These are going to be good for cardiovascular conditioning. They're also going to be good for working with your opponent and learning to control your body. We're going to go over some moves, transitional moves that are used once you've tied up, once you've done the collar and elbow tie-up. Some transitional moves that are basically offensive moves that are to take control of your opponent. And I'm going to use basically each of the people here, and I'll do a different move with each one, and we'll describe it as we go. The first one's called a duck under or a pass behind. And it's from the tie-up here. I'm going to push here, drop here, and go behind him and gain control around his waist. Okay? Now I'll do that full speed. Okay. Okay. The next one is going to be a top wrist lock. And do the slow motion for you again. We're going to tie up here. And then from here, I'm going to come back to the wrist. I'm going to knock the wrist up. At the same time, I'm going to fold across the elbow. And then I'm going to come underneath, grab my own bicep, and grab his wrist. And step up and over and apply pressure. Okay, and once again, you're pumping your legs here to give the appearance of pressure. Okay, we'll go full speed on this. Good. Excellent. Okay, now I'm going to take the arm on this one. Basically, from the tie-up position here, I'm going to come back to the wrist. I'm going to throw my elbow up and over in this position, and I'm basically taking the arm into an arm bar. From here, you can go into a key lock. You can stay down. You can duck under in an arm wringer. A lot of variations from here. So from the tie-up. Okay. Thank you. Now this is another variation of taking the arm. It's basically from the tie-up. I'm going to go over here, And it's the same thing. I have a key lock, if you can come around. I have a key lock on the arm right here once I've gone over, and I can spin under into an arm bar or an arm twist. Here, back, up into position. Okay, so same situation. We tie up here, over here, spin under, back up. Okay, good. Now we're gonna go into taking a headlock off the tie up. Same situation, collar and elbow. I'm gonna basically push back on the elbow and then pull the head into my left elbow into position. Now, a couple important issues on this. Number one, once I push this back, I'm gonna pull in the head and I'm gonna step back my left leg for control in position, okay? Now my left leg needs to be back. I wanna avoid having my back to my opponent because it's very difficult to transition from here. So my left leg's back, and then I wanna be sure, secondly, that I'm below the ear. I wanna avoid being high up. I wanna be down below the ear, and then of course, the grip on the hands. A lot of variations of this. There's this style, 3-finger grip, standard grip. Of course, you can do this as well. The main thing here is that you're making sure you're below the ear. If you're not below the ear and you find yourself high up, go ahead and grab the chin, lift the head up, and apply the pressure. Okay? Now, once again, this foot being back, for me to apply pressure here, I'm going to lower my body and crank it up on my way up. So I'm here, cranking it up on the way up. Okay? Thank you. So we're going to cover the hammer lock transition from the collar and elbow tie-up. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate here. From the collar and elbow position, I'm going to keep my right arm on the elbow, basically move a little up to the bicep, and then I'm going to duck under into position, and you'll see it takes me right into a hammer lock. As I duck under here, my arm stays on the bicep, duck under, and I'm in the hammer lock. And you can see this is a legitimate move, able to apply quite a bit of pressure here, and then from here I can transition right onto the wrist into a hammer lock that we can work from. Go ahead and show you that in live action. Okay. Okay, we're going to also show you here some takedowns as though you're going into the collar and elbow, some takedowns. The first one is a leg takedown. As we go into the collar and elbow, I'm going to drop, and I'm going to basically put my left forearm into the hip, and I'm going to pick the leg at the same time, okay? So we're coming in, we're proceeding to tie up here, and I drop. Okay, we'll back up, please. Just fold over me, wait for me to pull, okay? As I come in, I've dropped. I have my left forearm on his hip and my right hand underneath his knee. Now I want to pull his leg. I want to pull his leg out, not between my legs, but actually out. He's going to fold over me and then take a bump to his back. We'll demonstrate here. In a position. I've got his leg here, prepared to work the leg. Do this full speed. Got the leg here for a key lock. And work the leg any way you want from that position. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate the tie-up into the fireman's carriage. This is an amateur move that I'd highly recommend. It's a nice move. Go ahead and switch positions here so you can get the view. Now, the way you want to do this from a tie-up, collar and elbow tie-up, the natural thing would be to pull yourself in. What you actually need to do is you need to take the right arm, you need to loop underneath the arm and get an overhook. Okay? Once you have the overhook, I'm going to duck my head into the armpit, and that begins the movement. From here, I'm going to drop my right knee, and I'm going to basically dump him across my shoulders here, and then I'm going to take him across into position. Now from here, if you finish it properly, it's going to be a nice, very nice move to control your opponent once you've taken him down to the ground. And I'm going to switch my knees to this knee dropping, this knee coming up across the side of his head, and I immediately have a key lock, and I'm in a nice position of control. Go ahead and demonstrate this one full speed. We're going to demonstrate just a little bit of hold-to-hold transition from the tie-up, from the collar and elbow tie-up. We're going to go ahead and start out with a collar and elbow tie-up into the duck behind. And then from here, basically you're going to lift and tilt down to the ground. Once your opponent's down, you're going to assume a front face lock position. From here, your opponent's going to grab your arm, spin out into a hammer lock from here. Okay, now that was about 8th speed, and we're going to go ahead and show it full speed now. Okay, good. Excellent. Okay, that's basically showing the transitions from the tie-up. As you can see from a tie-up, probably 20, 30 moves you can do right off the bat from the tie-up to take control, and then go into hold-to-hold, go into some spots, and get your match started. This is a drill that we use to train for arm drags, and this is not only for the person giving, but also for the person taking the arm drag. We're going to start off with the elbows hooked, and the person giving is basically going to spin around, facing the opposite direction they start, ending up on their knees, and the person taking is going to post their arm on the shoulder, jump over straight, not sideways, and land flat on their back with their heels at the same time. I'll demonstrate, and then we'll go ahead and show the drill. Something we want to cover now is basically controlling your opponent and moving him around the ring to where you want him to be for your next move, your next offensive move. We're going to start out with showing you from the collar and elbow tie-up. Basically, we're going to tie up here, and then from here, I'm going to basically push him back to where I want him to be. I'm going to smother him, push him into position, and then prepare from here to cut him off with a punch, or if I'm just going to throw him in from here, I'm basically going to take here, throw it to the next position. Same situation. I'm going to take him to the corner. We tie up. And from here, I'm going to walk him back to the corner. Same thing. As soon as we get close to the corner, I'm pushing him in. I'm locking his arms up so he can't punch me. Preparing for a clean break. And then if you want to punch, or whatever you want to do from there, it's your business. It's basically walking the opponent back, being the aggressor, and taking control of him. Okay, now once you've got him in place, let's say we got him against the ropes here. I want to move him. Okay. There's a couple ways to do this. Number one is just an arm wringer. And let's just say I pushed him back here. I'm going to give him a punch or a kick to start off with. I'll give him a kick. Now from here, let's say I want to move him to the corner. I'm going to start out with an arm wringer here. I'm going to grab the arm. I'm going to twist under and get his arm into position. Now he's going to move with me where I want him to move. And I'm going to move him to where I need to be here. Right there, we're in the corner, ready for the next movement. That's one method. Another method is to take a key lock. Same situation. I push him back to here. I'm going to take what's called a key lock, and that is basically from here, grabbing the arm, wrapping around, and key locking it. Now I've got him in a position here. I'm applying pressure to the shoulder. I'm able to move him wherever I need to move him. If he starts to fight you, or he starts to push up, basically snap it back down into position and move him wherever you need him to be for your next movement. The key here is to be extremely aggressive and look very solid while you're doing this stuff. When we're talking about controlling your opponent, we're going to show basically some control moves from the headlock position and then some counters for your opponent to throw you in off the headlock. We're going to start here with the tie-up position, collar and elbow. I'm going to snatch a headlock on Frankie in a position. Okay, now basically I'm in a position here to control him. He's going to wrap his arms around me. He's going to start with that. He might take an arm up to my head, push off my face. Now I'm in control here, as I have control of the headlock, and I have the ability to move him and walk him around wherever we need to be from cranking on the head. Now what he's going to do is he's going to basically push me back in order to push me into the ropes, using leverage here. Pushing me back here, forward, pitch in. Okay, that's one method. That's pushing the person back in order to go forward. That's usually going to be used if your opponent's bigger than you and you need the momentum of pushing them back. The other one is from the headlock. Is basically he's going to just lean back and push me straight forward, push off his head. Here we go. Go. Same thing here. He leans back, pushes me off his head, and I can feed back into him. We can go from any transitional move from there. We're going to show you a move now called a snap mare. There's a couple of variations. There's a snap mare, there's a flying mare. These are basically moves that are control moves where you take the opponent down to the ground. It's another variation of like a headlock takedown, that where you're taking the opponent from standing position down to the ground. Demonstrate here on prototype. Basically, I'm going to come around the head here. You want to use both hands out of respect because of the fact that as a 260, 270-pound man, and I don't want to flip him with one arm is not very realistic. So both hands around the head. I'm going to drop to my inside knee, my right arm, and then I'm going to flip him over here. He's going to basically jump with both feet at the same time and land flat, just as we've done in our other drills. So start out. I'm going to come in here, arm here around the head, grab my other hand here, and drop, and snap him over, okay? Now, two ways to do this. Either you can land flat, or you can stay down flat. Number one, you can either land flat on his rear end sitting up, or you can stay down flat. And there's a lot of moves to go to from here, but it's a basic takedown, very simple to do, that'll put your opponent in a position where you can move, transition to your next segment or spot. Okay, we're going to demonstrate now in the drill formation, basically, odd man out, snap mares. You want to start it out, Mikey? Good. Okay. Now the other variation I mentioned is called the flying mare. Very similar move. The primary difference on this one is that you're actually going to use only one arm on this to start out. You're going to kick your body up, and you're going to come down with your hip and your knee and post with your left hand while you do this. We're going to step out a little to demonstrate this. So this is a fancier version of the snap mare, basically, called the flying mare. I'm coming in the same way, right here, and I'm kicking my feet up high. And that's it. Now from here, I'm going to go right into a reverse chin lock, which is me coming forward here, snapping it on. It's a chin lock on, okay? Good. We're going to show another variation to an arm drag. This is like an advanced arm drag technique, basically where rather than connecting elbow to elbow and spinning around, you're jumping and flipping up and over and landing on your belly with your opponent. We're going to demonstrate it now. Okay, we got a headlock. From the headlock, we're going to pitch him in. Into the arm drag, down into the key lock. It's a great controlling movement. You end with nice control at the end. Okay, another offensive control to take your opponent down is the drop toe hold. A lot of variations on this. We'll demonstrate two of them right now. One of them is from a hold-to-hold position. Basically, we're going to tie up, and then as I go to a position behind him, in other words, I'm going to pass behind, he's going to drop into a drop toe hold. He's going to step behind. You can see what he's done here. He stepped behind with his left, wrapped his leg around, and he's got my foot tripped now. And he's going to apply pressure, and I'm taking a flat face bump. Flat down. Okay? He switches over to a headlock. That's Chris Daniels being an advanced wrestler for you. We're going to go ahead and have these guys demonstrate full speed. Nice. Okay, the other variation on this is off the ropes, or when your opponent's running into you, and We'll go ahead and do this one off of a reversal into a drop toe hold. Very simple. I'm going to pitch him in. He's going to reverse me. And as I feed in here, he puts his foot out, and same exact instance. The bottom foot of the left foot catches the front of my foot. The right foot catches the inside of my left knee. He applies pressure, and I fall down flat to my face. So we're going to go ahead and have this demonstrated full speed for you. Good. Now you see, you still maintain control onto the leg. So if Chris wants to shoot up and apply pressure to the back of the leg, he can do that. Or he can actually separate, switch forward, and go into a headlock. Probably 30 different variations you can go to from here. You can be pretty creative. Once you got your opponent down, you move into your next offensive position.
Listen to me, you punk slaves! You think this shit's easy? I dare you to get in the ring with me!
Ultimate Industries presents Ultimate Pro Wrestling Training. Welcome to Volume 2, The Next Step. On this tape, you will learn about basic hold-to-hold wrestling, advanced chain wrestling, and striking methods, including punches, kicks, elbows, and forearms. Plus, you will meet some of the UPW superstars as they tell you about their journey in pro wrestling. Total body conditioning is a vital element to your training. To make it to the big leagues, it takes a combination of wrestling skills and an impressive physical appearance. Determination, intensity, and perseverance are crucial elements of today's business of sports entertainment. So, after viewing tape 1, do you think you have what it takes to become a pro wrestler? Here's the Dean of Ultimate University, the Big Swag, Brett Wagner, on what the school looks for in a student.
Well, I would like to say we look for 7-foot-tall, big steroid monsters, but we don't. We look for anybody that's got a good attitude. Attitude is the key. It doesn't matter what size they are, as long as they have a very good attitude and they're positive, and you can tell if someone's going to rock the boat right away. And at Ultimate University, we're a family. It's the family atmosphere. You know, we don't need any people rocking the boat, so we're very selective, and we've done very well so far. Well, the reality of the percentage of people that go on to the WWF is very small, but I believe there's only 350 spots available in the big three. That would be WWF, WCW, or ECW. And then there's Japan, and then there's Europe. So, I mean, there are places you can go work, but the percentage that goes on is very small, and it takes a lot of hard work and effort to get there. And at our Ultimate University, we happen to be a school that we get guys looked at, which with some people on the independent circuit would take a long time. You know, it could be 5 or 6 years before anybody ever hears about them. We just we have a niche to getting people looked at quickly in their careers, which helps. Right now, you have a problem with backyard wrestling, which you have a lot of people that go out and they mimic what they watch on TV. They don't get trained. Our tapes, they show you what, you know, with great teachers, with teachers who are professionals with 5 or 6 years experience in the business, and they show you the right way to do stuff. Whether or not you should go do that at home after watching the tape, I don't know. But if this gets you excited and you want to go sign up for a wrestling school, I suggest it. You know, you should never go train in a backyard. Absolutely never. You should look for teachers that have 5 or 6 years experience at least, and an accredited school, I would say. And there are them. They're out there, but there's also a lot of people, shysters as we call them, that, you know, take your money, and after 2 months you're out wrestling, and you can get hurt really bad.
Now, let's go over to our Huntington Beach, California campus and your instructor, Tom Howard.
Now, in hold-to-hold wrestling, basically you're going to start from the tie-up position, which is the collar and elbow tie-up we discussed in tape number 1. The tie-up position, to refresh, is collar and elbow. This is the beginning of basically all of the hold-to-hold movements that you'll be doing. The first one we're going to show you is called a pass behind, and myself being the aggressor, I'm going to basically push, I'm going to reach the hand, the elbow hand, I'm going to push the elbow, and I'm going to duck under, pass behind or duck under, duck behind, 3 different names for it, and I'm going to push, duck under, and I'm going to go behind and grab around the waist. This position, one more time, from the tie-up, We have the collar and elbow tie up, duck under, pass behind. Okay? Let's have, if we could, someone else demonstrate this, and I'll move you into the next series of moves. Okay, we got the tie up, the pass behind. Okay, now from the pass behind position, we're going to go into what's called the switch. Okay, on a switch, the first thing he's going to do as the person passes behind is he's going to control the hands. You see him controlling the hands here. He's going to lower his hips and he's going to hip out. Now from here, he's going to do what's called a switch. Switch is always done to the left-hand side. He's going to reach the left arm back into the inside of the knee, palm up, catch the inside of the knee, and pull himself around the opponent. Back into the same position, okay? Now, once you're in the position where your opponent's arms are around you, you're going to automatically go to control the hands and hip out once again, which is what he's doing right now. Okay, now from here, we're going to have him do the same move of switch or reversal to the left, always done to the left. Go ahead, please. Okay, great. Now, from here, we're going to basically go into an armbar variation. What we want Prototype here to do is he's going to hip out and break the hands. He's going to grab the left wrist, and he's going to spin under into an armbar. Okay, that's actually a hammer lock, but we're going to spin out to an armbar. Yep. Okay, good. Now on the armbar here, he's got the arm straight. This move is always done straight across. You don't want to be behind like this. You don't want to be too far forward. You want to be parallel from your opponent. You're controlling the wrist with your thumbs, holding the hands, bending the wrist up. You're not putting pressure here. This is a legitimate move where if you're applying pressure, it's going to cause pain to your opponent. In order to put the appearance of pressure here, you're going to use body language by lowering your body and then pumping your legs and actually bringing your shoulder up, which is what you've seen him do right here. Your opponent can settle down to a knee and come back up. Come back up, please. Now, your opponent here is going to reach across, grab the wrist, actually go under, and he's going to spin out into an armbar of his own. Okay? Now, you see what he does. He's always spinning under. He's essentially stepping with the right leg and coming under. You're spinning left, or you're spinning clockwise rather than counterclockwise. Okay? Now, from here, we're going to have Prototype come over, grab the left wrist on the top. He's going to take this elbow, and he's going to put this elbow on top of this elbow. He's going to duck under and go into a hammer lock. Right into a hammer lock. Okay, the hammer lock position here. From the hammer lock position, he's got his left hand controlling his left hand, Frankie's left hand. Now from here, Frankie's going to counter by ducking under and going into his own hammer lock. That's done as he just demonstrated. Could you go back and demonstrate that again, please? That is done basically from, as he's holding your wrist, you extend it out, duck under, go behind him, and hold the wrist, as you can see right here, okay? Okay, we're going to show the same hold-to-hold series we just did. I want to do it in live speed, and I'll go ahead and call the moves as we go. So we're going to start off with the tie-up and move from there. Go ahead, gentlemen. We got the tie-up here. We got the pass behind. We got switch left. Switch left. We're breaking under, spinning into an armbar. From there, we're spinning out into another armbar variation. From there, we're spinning into a hammer lock. And from there, we're reversing the hammer lock into another hammer lock. Okay, we're going to go into headlocks and headlock takedowns in particular right now. What we want to demonstrate is the technique used on the headlock takedown and how you basically hold the bodies together as you're doing the headlock takedown. I'm going to work with Frankie here. We've got the tie up, snatch and headlock. And then as I prepare to take him down, I'm going to step through, and you can see where his arms are. Basically, he wraps his arms around me, and that's what's going to hold our bodies together as we proceed to, as I proceed to take him over into the headlock takedown. We're going to have Mikey and Frankie demonstrate for you. Okay, you can see he's basically held the package together by wrapping his arms around him, and it's not necessarily the head. If you're just holding the head, you got about a 50-50 chance of separating unless you're cranking on the head pretty tight. Okay, we showed you how to take the headlock. Now we're going to show you some escapes from the headlock. The concept behind hold to hold is basically to perform an offensive move and then perform a counter to the offensive move and go into the next move. That's what we're going to demonstrate here right now. We're going to go ahead and, guys, tie up and do some variations, and I'll describe it as we go. We've got the headlock. Now from the headlock, we're going to show an escape. That's a top wrist lock from a headlock. Okay. We are from a headlock again. We've got a hammer lock. Basically what he's done there, he's pushed, held onto the arm, pushed out of the headlock, and pulled into the hammer lock. You see he's applying pressure to the knee, pulled himself out into a hammer lock. These are all just little variations. You can probably come up with a million ways to get out of a headlock. And there's really no rules to these. It's whatever looks good. That's the beauty of pro wrestling.
If awesome physical conditioning and presence is guaranteed success in sports entertainment, then the prototype's future must be without limits. We sat down with the prototype and asked him about the importance of a wrestling school, breaking into the business, and his future with the World Wrestling Federation.
You know, you can't ride a bike without learning how to ride a bike. You can't wrestle without learning how to wrestle. It's just as far as wrestling and moves and psychology and whatnot, they focus on that as opposed to conditioning. Like a lot of places will condition you for the first X amount of weeks before they even have you do a hammer lock. You know, pretty much from day one, UPW says, you know, if you need conditioning, we'll tell you that. Do that on your own time. When you step in the ring, this is our time. You need to learn how to wrestle. So that's a plus. One of my hopes, same hope as everybody else, you know, to go out Madison Square Garden in front of a full house with them either cheering the hell out of you or booing you right back off the stage. You know, whatever comes of it. School is awesome. You get to learn how to wrestle in a fairly short period of time. I can't compare it to anywhere else because I haven't been anywhere else. But as far as my experience goes, it's awesome.
Okay, we'd like to demonstrate for you now some chain wrestling, basically where two wrestlers are showing off their technical skills. They are starting off in a face-off confrontation, and they're going to go through some hold-to-hold and end up in a face-off confrontation. We'll have them do it half speed to start out here. Basically, they're starting in the collar and elbow tie-up, going into a headlock. From the headlock, he's ducking out into a hammer lock. From the hammer lock, he's dropping into a drop toe hold and switching over into a headlock. From the headlock, he's sitting through, pulling his head into a head scissor, nipping up, turning, and facing off. Okay? We've covered the basic hold-to-hold now. We're going to show you some advanced technique. We've got a couple of guys that are advanced at hold-to-hold or chain wrestling, and we're going to show you some advanced combinations here.
we are really proud to have Chris Daniels as a part of the Ultimate University team. Chris is one of our trainers and is considered by many to be the #1 independent pro wrestler in the world. Chris Daniels is an excellent example of what thousands of guys are trying to achieve: greatness.
Let me say this to all of you watching this tape. I don't ever want you to think that you know everything there is to know about wrestling. You can never, ever stop learning about this business. I've been in this business 7 years. I know guys that have been in it longer than I have, and they continue to learn. That's what makes you great. You're always soaking up information. You're always learning new ways to look at things, new ideas, new concepts in professional wrestling. And that is how you become great, is because you always open yourself up to these new ideas and these new things, and you never stop learning. You never quit learning. You never know it all.
All right, we're going to show you another hold-to-hold variation here. Basically, we're going to start with a tie-up, pass behind, grab around the waist into a full Nelson. From the full Nelson, you're going to break it by, let's demonstrate that. We're going to actually, you break a full Nelson by lifting your arms up straight, and go ahead and break it, stomping, and then you're going to drop to the left knee and roll through. Yeah, rather than rolling completely to your side, you want to try to roll across your shoulder into a key lock position. From a key lock position, he's going to kick over. Basically, you want to use your left leg, put your right arm tight, and kick back over into a backward somersault here. Go ahead. And pull through into a hammer lock, okay, back into a control position. So we're going to show that in full speed now. Okay, we're going to talk about striking right now. Striking is basically punching, kicking, forearms, elbows, anything where you're using part of your body to strike your opponent. We're going to start out with kicks, and the basic kick used is basically a stomp kick to the midsection, solar plex region. It can also be used to the thigh, and I'll demonstrate one for you right now. Okay, now, to break that down, basically, that was a little stiff, made some contact on that one. Basically, I'm lifting my knee up, I'm extending my foot, and basically touching with the ball of the foot, not with the point. And at the same time, I'm lifting my left heel, getting a little bit of a stomp, and the body language and the intensity is what really makes this kick look particularly ferocious. So one more time.
There are a lot of great things we can say about the future Frankie Kazarian. Frankie has the drive and the determination to become one respected and talented ring technician. Let's listen to how Frankie became a pro wrestler and his new spot with UPW.
Well, ever since I was 7 years old, this is the first time I ever saw wrestling. It was in my blood from that day. And all through school, junior high, high school, it's just all I ever wanted to do. I couldn't think of anything else I loved as much as wrestling. So as soon as I was able to, I went to school and I got trained. And this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, no matter what. It's a lot more, it's more of like a family orientation here. Everyone works really hard, works together, everyone really pushes each other. Everything's just done real regimented and it's real organized.
Okay, now as I sell here, keep my body tight. I'm bending back, but I'm keeping everything open. The last thing, as I said, I want to do is bend down so I get the knee right in the forehead when it happens. And I want to leave my body open for the next move. So, for example, I'm going to kick him and then I'll go right into a punch. And because he sells properly for me and leaves himself open, I can go right into a punch and set him up. So I'll show that right now. The kick, into a punch. Start off with the kick, he sells, sets up for whatever I want right there. If I want to hit a forearm, if I want to hit a punch, if I want chops, yeah, anything that I want. If I want to hit a straight chop, if I want to hit a back chop, anything I want to hit from there. The trick to any of this stuff, in my opinion, is the intensity with which you're performing the movements. And with time, movements will get tighter, but the intensity is what matters, and working fairly tight. Not stiff, but tight. So if we could, I'd like to have basically odd man out, demonstrate kicks and selling at the same time. Good. Good. Good.
Looney started as a manager in UPW with no wrestling experience. Today, she is one of Ultimate University's prize students already appearing on WWF television. Looney lets us in on her views on the business.
But I love it. I've learned so much. I mean, it's unbelievable how much you learn when you're trained properly. Training properly, that's a big key. But yeah, learned a lot. Is the WWF in my future? Definitely, for sure. I'm going straight to the top. That's the only way I see myself going. You gotta set yourself high standards, and that's where I see myself going. That or any one of the big three, WCW, ECW, but WWF, I would be very happy if I were to go with them.
Okay, we're gonna cover some striking now, primarily punching. We're gonna start out with a jab punch. Jab punches can be done either the stomach, the face region. Basically, it's using same foot. I'm right-handed, so I'm going to use right foot forward, right hand forward. And as he feeds in here, I'm jabbing the stomach or jabbing the face the same way. And another punch is the uppercut punch, primarily done to the stomach. Basically, I like to pull the head into this, pull your partner or opponent into this, and then same thing, throwing up. It's here. And then variations of the face punches. I do a little different style of punch, and as I come across, I smack my arm for effect. A lot of different ways to do this. You can also throw them to the head. When you're throwing punches to the head, one of the best ways for safety is to keep this at a distance and throw this direct, so that you're using this as a rule. And unless you're extending past, you shouldn't be touching his head. So it's this. Okay, and then just an overhand punch. Just throw to you want to throw this one basically to the bottom of the jaw, almost to the neck region, and you want to keep your fist fairly solid. You want to avoid having an open fist on this, and that's one more time. And the noise you're getting on that is coming from stomping, a little bit of the left heel as well as the pop to the arm. So you can gauge how much you want based on the popping, the foot noise. You want to avoid big foot stomps, obviously, for keeping some reality in this. And those are some of the basic strikes. Okay, what we want to show now is basically the same punches we just used, stomach punches, head punches, all the variations. I don't want to have different people demonstrate, because the thing about punching and striking in general is, depending on your character and your individual technique, they're all going to look different. There's not really a right or a wrong way. The bottom line is, as long as it looks good and you're not hurting the person. So we'll just demonstrate some different variations. Just hit jab. Yeah, face jab. Good. Yeah. You're normally going to jab with the same foot as you know.
Oh, you want to?
Yeah. Good. There you go. Excellent. Okay.
Known as the Samoan Suplex Machine, Samoa Joe brings years of judo training and raw gridiron attitude to UPW. Joe really shines when the bell rings, and his opponents will find absolutely no pleasure from his overwhelming Polynesian power.
I didn't really know I wanted to do this. You know, I'd done tournament judo for several years before I did this. I was actually training in a pro wrestling shoot dojo, and got hooked into the sport. A buddy of mine recommended it to me, stayed after class, and I was hooked from then on. I've been a wrestling fan, you know, all my life. I've been watching wrestling when I grew up. Never really dreamed of doing it. And once you get in the ring, once you're out there in front of a crowd, you know, the bug bites you, and it becomes part of your blood. It's entertaining people. It's you know, it's maximizing your abilities to, you know, entertain millions of people, thousands, hundreds, whatever, 20 people, just to get them to cheer, and you know, it's a good feeling. You know, I learned my basics at another school. I was taught very well, and I can't, you know, say anything bad about my training. When I came to Ultimate University, we have the same type of curriculum and training coming up that I did receive. Plus, we have finishing work to polish you off to go to the big time. You know, promo classes, learning in-ring work. You know, how to compose yourself, acting professional. You know, you're not just a wrestler in the ring, you're a wrestler outside of the ring. And Ultimate University really teaches you how to do that.
We're talking about striking, and we want to demonstrate some punches. Now, we've got about 10 different people in the room here. When you have 10 trained professional wrestlers, you're going to have 10 different style of punches. That's just the way it is in the business. Everyone's going to have their own little method or technique they like to use. So we're going to demonstrate, each of us, some overhand punches to the head or face region, and we'll just touch on the technique used in each one. I'll start it out. I have a little different one than some of the others. One more time. Go ahead. Start that. Now, the concept is similar on everyone in that we're all throwing a punch to the chin, neck region. There's a lot of different variations on these. The main idea, there's a couple of variations that you can throw, one of which is a kind of almost an uppercut or a hook type punch, and then there's also an overhand, downward punch. That's really going to depend on your individual style and preference. Another technique in striking is the forearm to the back. This is done whether your opponent's already bent over or you need to bend him over by pulling him into place. You want to take the arm up high over your head, showing everyone, and then coming down with the meat of your forearm across the upper region of the back. You want to avoid the neck, obviously, here. It looks like this. Back up. This is done stiff, done as hard as possible. Make sure you're not hitting them with the elbow or the fist. Straight forearm, and just lay this one in.
As a native of St. Petersburg, Russia, Stas was a national judo and martial arts champion and has become one of the most feared men in the squared circle. Now let's get to know what's in the mind of this soft-spoken Ultimate University graduate.
I love this place because I came from Russia 2 years ago, and already 1 year I train in Ultimate Pro University, and this place for me it's like home, because I find many friends here and everybody friendly to me, and I love sport, so I feel like it's my second home. That's why I try to be here more time, and this place really like a family, because everybody help to each other, everybody try to be you know, really nice to each other. That's why it feels always easy when you train.
Okay, we've got Chris Daniels here. We're going to show you some various methods of striking. We're going to show you an overarm forearm to the chest and a couple of different variations of the chop. Basically, he's pushing the head back to clear his chest. And then as he's coming in, he's throwing his arm in a circle with the base of his forearm hitting the chest. There you go. Now, if we could show the overhand chop, the technique's real similar to the overhand chop there, but instead of throwing the forearm, you're actually cupping the hand and throwing the chop. And you're laying these in full speed as hard as you can, getting a nice slap. Now, the reverse knife edge chop is same effect with the hand, and you're just laying these in. Basically, your reverse knife edge, you're coming back and throwing it from left field as hard as you can. Let's do one more. That's a little too easy on him. In demonstrating various striking techniques, one of the forms we want to show you is the forearm shiver. Basically, you're controlling the head by pulling your opponent, pull his head down, and then you're using the meaty part of your forearm, not the point of your elbow and not the fist, of course, in between, and you're striking the side of the head here. We'll have it demonstrated for you. Excellent. Can we go one more time on that, please? Nice. Okay, great. Now, when you have your opponent in the corner, we're gonna show a couple of variations here of elbows into your opponent, various striking techniques that you're going to use in the corner. Go ahead, if you would demonstrate, please. Good. Yeah. Okay. Now we're going to show you some other techniques here. Basically, this is the same concept as the elbow or the forearm. We're going to go ahead and use knees. There's a cross variation this way, and there's a forward variation this way. You can demonstrate. Good. Now, when you're working in the corner, one of the things we want to stress is that you're not working with your back flat against the turnbuckles. It gives you nowhere to go. So when you are hit, you have nowhere to go. So you want to be slightly out. So when you are hit, you have a place to fall backwards and avoid being basically smashed into the corner. Okay, we're going to show you a couple more striking techniques here. These are more advanced striking techniques, but I at least want to show them so you have a concept. We're going to start out here with a kick to put the guy in position. We're going to give him a kick, and then we're going to go into a forearm shrug, across the face, forearm shot across the face, into a knife edge into the neck. We'll have Joe demonstrate those three. Okay, one more time on that. Just get some noise. It's cool. No, that's cool. Good. Okay, we're going to show a couple different striking techniques here. We're going to start out with the shoulder tackle. And this is normally done in a corner. When your opponent's in the corner, basically grabbing the middle rope here, you're feeding back, and then you're rearing forward. And as your opponent's basically feeding back out of the corner here, you're laying your shoulder into his midsection. And we'll go through it right here. We'll actually go ahead and demonstrate for us if we could, please. Good. Great. Our next striking technique is the headbutt. And the method used on this is you're basically going to grab the hair of your opponent if they've got hair, if not, grab the head. I'm going to stand back here. I'm going to rear my head back for effect, and I'm coming in, and I'm basically not wanting to hit my own hands, but I'm coming in and making contact, just a slight amount of contact as you're coming in. Go ahead, please. Demonstration.
Turning pro at the age of 15, Mikey Henderson has overcome much adversity to become one of the best small guys currently working in the indie scene. Henderson has great physical presence, excellent mic skills, and an awesome attitude. All of these are essential to making it into the big time, and that's where the Miracle's mind is focused.
I started watching wrestling when I was 3 years old. You know, seeing Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, you know, I mean, these characters are larger than life. That's what got me into it, you know, and And I said when I was like 3, I told my dad, I said, you know, I'm going to be a wrestler. And, you know, my dad kind of, oh, yeah, whatever, okay, a wrestler. You know, but it stuck with me. Yeah, I started training when I was 13. I went professional when I was 15. And, you know, it's like I'm never going to stop doing it. You know, it becomes more like a drug, you know, I mean, something you need it, you want to stop, but you can't ever stop. You know, you have to go out there. You have to have the fans. You have to have that entertainment thing going on all the time. The difference is, I mean, we train a little harder. I mean, most of the schools you go into, you get in there and you start training just for a little bit, and everybody's kind of lazy. Here, you know, you got a bunch of good guys who pump you up, keep you ready all the time, always keep you on your toes and going. So that's what the difference is. I mean, you just got a bunch of guys who are basically professionals about everything. So I don't think they're going to give me that spot. I know they're going to give me that spot in the WWF or the WCW. You know, I've been wrestling since I was 15. I just turned 20 a couple months ago. I believe deep down inside it's just a matter of time before I'm with one of the major companies.
Another striking technique is the elbow to the back, elbow smash, whatever you want to call it. Same situation here where your opponent's either bending over as he's coming up or you're pulling him in a position. And same deal, you're coming from high up and laying it down, avoiding contact directly with the point of the elbow so you don't paralyze the guy. We're going to have it demonstrated here by Chris. Excellent. Now that was more to the neck region. You can also lay this in to the back, a little more to the back if you want to show that once, Chris. There you go. Once again, you're laying these in, having no mercy. The only mercy you're having on your opponent in this is that you're not using the point of your elbow so that you're not doing any permanent damage. Now, another variation on this elbow is off of an arm wringer. Basically, as you twist under here in an arm wringer, bend the guy in a position here. I'm going to throw an elbow here to the back of his head. Now, the trick on this one is my footing, okay? If I'm going to do a knee lift, which is a different move, I'm going to stand in front of the arm and throw a knee to the head. If I'm going to throw an elbow, I'm going to stand behind the arm. I'm going to come from back here, show the audience, show the world my elbow, and then he needs to have his head a little higher so I don't kill him. And then I'm going to come inside here, to the back of his head with the intensity to the back of the head. Can we demonstrate that as well? Good. Okay, another element of striking is after you've knocked your opponent to the ground, keep him down. Basically stomping on him, punching him, strikes to your opponent as he's down, trying to get back up. And we'll demonstrate here on Stas. I'm going to use the forearm to knock him down like we just demonstrated, and then I'll just show you some stomps. Go from there. Okay, I kicked him once here to the back, once here to the head. Be real careful when you're kicking to the head. Obviously, you want to avoid any permanent damage. Okay, we want to show you an example of keeping the pressure or the heat on your opponent once you become the aggressor and you've started to take him down. We're going to demonstrate here, if we could, Chris Daniels and Frankie Kazarian. Excellent. Okay, you can see, rather than staying stationary on the ground, he's fighting back. He's trying to fight back to defend himself, and Chris is keeping the pressure on him with blows and strikes the entire time.
To make it in sports entertainment today, a person needs to find a personality that fits, and the sadist has found hers. Deep down, this former powerlifter and mother of 3 wants a career in the big leagues. To reach her goals, she refuses to overlook all the hard work required, and it may shock you to learn that it's the family atmosphere at Ultimate University that keeps her coming back for more.
Well, there's a lot of things to know. First is that it's a sport that should be respected because it's definitely hardcore. There's nothing soft about it, and anybody who wants to think it's fake, I challenge you, bring it, because there's nothing fake about all the bumps we take. It's really real, and it's a lot of hard work and dedication, so if you're not down, don't even waste your time or our time. I've gotten a family out of it. I've gotten a lot of knowledge of how much I should appreciate this sport because it's really hardcore. I get more hurt doing this than I've ever gotten doing kickboxing, but it's worth it. I've learned a lot about working with other people more than being down for myself, because before with the fighting circuit, you know, you got to take care of you, but in here, you got to take care of each other, pretty much.
Do it. Lay it in. Thickness. That's just another day at Ultimate University. That was tape 2. We covered striking. We covered hold to hold. We covered basically the ingredients that you will be using in your matches. Now in tape 3, we're going to put those ingredients together and we're going to bake us up a match.
Ultimate Industries presents Ultimate Pro Wrestling Training. Welcome to Volume 3, The Match. On this tape, Tom Howard will show you all the action needed to perform an exciting match from beginning to end. This tape will make you realize that pro wrestling is not for the weak of heart. Performing the moves in practice is one thing, but performing in front of a live audience is a totally different subject. For peak performance, you need a combination of conditioning, strength, and the drive to succeed. Now, let's go over to our Huntington Beach, California campus and your instructor, Tom Howard.
Right, one of the things we want to cover is basically the segues from hold-to-hold wrestling, opening a match, into doing what's called a high spot. And we'll start out here, basically collar and elbow position. I'm going to come back and take an arm ringer on my opponent, put him in position. He's going to reverse on me into an arm ringer. Okay, now from here, I'm just going to take the arm, go into a hammer lock behind. He's going to duck under into his own hammer lock. He's going to basically put me in a headlock, pull me into a headlock from here. Okay, now from here, this is basically where we seg into a high spot, because he's got me in a headlock. Go ahead and lower the headlock. And then from here, I can basically take him back, push him in, and go into our first high spot of the match. Here, comes off the ropes, into our opening. Hip toss, backdrop, sidewalk slam. Probably 50 different moves can be done from there. It's basically where you're going to get your segue from your hold to hold into your spots. Go ahead and demonstrate. Basically, this is going to be freestyle. We haven't planned anything for this. These two are going to do a little bit of hold to hold into a segue for a high spot. It's off the fly right here. Okay, we got a tie up, pass behind, an arm ringer. Apply pressure with an arm bar. Forward somersault, do a nip up. Do an arm ringer. Applying pressure. Forward somersault, do a backward somersault into a head spring. Into an arm ringer. Into a hammer lock, into a headlock. From the headlock, he's pitching him in. We got a tackle. We got a drop down, leapfrog, hip toss, feeding from the hip toss into an arm drag, feeding from the arm drag into a body slam, and basically you've shown some domination there. We've got an opener to a match right there, as demonstrated. Okay, we're going to demonstrate some moves now that will be used in the match. These are some offensive moves that you'll use in your match to basically dominate your opponent. We're going to start off with a clothesline. Now, the trick on a clothesline is to keep your arms slightly bent so you don't hyperextend your elbow, and then just basically swing. And the point of impact here is going to be with my shoulder, basically hitting his shoulder, and then I'm going to be wrapping around his chest with my fist coming up across the other side right there. That's the point of impact. What you want to avoid for this is the face, the neck, or too low. Okay, now the way I perform a clothesline normally is I actually take this hand and I push it across the left side so that I end up with a combined effort pushing the opponent down. We'll demonstrate now full speed, and we'll have Joe take a back fall or a bump as he feeds in for the clothesline. Okay, Joe, ready? Okay. That's the movement. What you saw there is you saw me stepping in. Joe, if you could assume position. You saw me stepping in. Now, I'm stepping with my left leg forward. I'm stepping with my right leg back. So I'm clearing him to take a fall. Because when I hit him, he's going to go down. And I'm leaving him the opening to go down. Now, if I'm too far inside when I do this, he's going to kick me as he takes the fall back, and we've got potential problems there. So I'm leaving him open. I'm stepping through, and I'm throwing, leaning my upper body over as I'm making impact. We'll demonstrate it one more time here. Ready? Once again, leaning over very aggressively. He takes his fall. Okay? Now, for when you're throwing someone in and they're ducking the clothesline, I want to go over that in detail right now. As I throw the man in, he's going to duck the clothesline, and we're going to walk through this. I'm throwing him in. He comes off the rope, and he's ducking the clothesline. Now, I'm throwing this, stop right here. I'm throwing this at head level. Okay? It's his job to duck if he's going to duck. If he doesn't, I'm jacking him in the face or whatever's there. So it's his job to duck if he's going to duck. I'm throwing it full speed right here as he ducks under. Okay, now my position at this point, once I've thrown it, I have a couple things I can do. I can either turn and hit the ropes and proceed back into him, or I can turn around and turn back to make an offensive movement. Either way, just basically depends on what you plan on going into off of that. So what I'm going to demonstrate now for you is I'm going to throw him in, duck the clothesline, and I'm going to turn and give him a reverse elbow. And he's going to take a back fall on that. Now, in the reverse elbow in particular, same situation where I want to avoid being directly in front of him so I avoid getting kicked. So as he comes in here, I'm going to lean back, post an elbow out towards his chin. Now, the trick on this is that my elbow, my shoulder, is hitting his shoulder, and my elbow is coming up. He's turning his head to avoid getting hit in the face if he's smart. And he's taking his fall. Once again, the impact is truly what's giving him the fall here. So I'm going to throw him in. He's going to duck the clothesline. He's going to feed in for the reverse elbow. Now, the impact of his body basically makes me kind of almost spin. I hit here and it almost makes me spin because he's coming full speed at me. We'll demonstrate this one full speed as well. We're going to show you a move now called the hip toss. There's a standing version and there's also a version off the ropes that can be done. We're going to have Chris and the future demonstrate. Start off, they're going to tie up. From the collar and elbow tie up, Frankie's going to proceed to get an underhook and take him over in a hip toss. So go ahead, please. Good. Now this is the same front somersault back fall that we demonstrated. As you can see, we've done this earlier in tape number 1, and this is how you're using it. The man, Frankie in this instance, who's giving the underhook, is basically stepping in, underhook up and over, while man number 1 takes a front somersault into a back fall. Now we're going to show it off the ropes. Good. Okay, now what we're doing here is basically same situation. As I pitch the man in, he feeds off. I stand in front of him here, and I'm getting an underhook on him. Same situation. He's jumping, front somersault into the back bump. So we're going to demonstrate for you right now the back body drop. Basically, it's done from when I start out and push my opponent in. I'm pushing him in the same way I normally push him in here. As he feeds off the rope, I'm bending down. I'm posting, usually with one right leg forward. I'm giving him a base, which is my shoulder, to push off of. I'm posting off of his thighs. As he comes in, I'm lifting him up. He's going up and over and landing flat on his back. When he lands, of course, he wants to tuck his neck and land flat, feet and back at the same time. We'll demonstrate for you here. Excellent. Okay, we're going to walk through just the initial technique here. As I feed him in, slow motion here. Basically, right here, this is a vital point. I've got one knee forward. I'm posting off of his thighs, and he's posting off my back. And he's going to arch his back, as you saw him do right there. And I'm going to lift. While he feels it, I'm going to lift up. At the same time, he's going to arch his back and basically form an arc in the air, come down flat, and land with his feet and his back at the same time. That's the back body drop. We're going to demonstrate the body slam for you right now. The position that you want to basically take to get into the body slams, I'm going to grab the trapezius, and from there I'm going to bury my right shoulder into the groin, bend my knees, pick up with the legs rather than the back, hoist up onto my shoulder, up into position, and then I'll slam straight down. We'll have it demonstrated here for you. Up in position, now you see her body is straight. She's not just bending, and she's supporting herself with her hands and around the neck. And then, of course, you slam. You want to slam flat on the back with the feet hitting at the same time as the back. And, of course, it's the slap and the chin tucking to the chest. Good. Okay, we'll go ahead and demonstrate this on various people. Go ahead and body slam each person. Just want to have each person feet in, catch them, body slam them so you can see the technique. Good. Good. Now you see one of the keys on this is that he's driving them into the mat. They're already taking the fall, so you want to go ahead and go through the motion of driving them through the mat. And that's just going to give you the intensity that you need. We want to cover suplexes right now. When you talk about suplexes, there's probably 50 variations, but we're going to go through about 5 or 10 of them for you right now, starting out with the standard suplex. Good. Okay, now this can either be done as a standing formation where you're holding the person up. It can be done as a snap. On a snap, you step deep and arch your back and throw hard. But I want to go cover basically what the body's doing on this. Now, come around here. This guy, I'm wrapping the left arm around the back of his head, my opponent's head, and I'm taking his left arm and taking it around my head, and then I'm grabbing his waist. He's grabbing my waist at the same time, and then I'm basically picking up and pushing him up as we do this. Now, if you're going to do a snap variation, at that point, on a snap variation, you step very deep, arch your back, and throw. On a standing suplex from this point, you pick them up, hold them in place, and then drop. And we'll show both those right now. We'll go ahead and show snap first and then standing suplex. Excellent. Okay, one more time on that. Actually better than around. Okay, you can see he's standing, body erect, picks his point, walks him around in circles if he wants right here, and then picks his point and dumps him. Excellent. Okay, we're going to get a couple of different variations of suplexes here. Start out with double underhook suplex, or butterfly suplex, as it's called. Mikey, if I could demonstrate on you, I'm just going to pick him up and you can go from there. This would be a double underhook or a butterfly suplex, as they're called. Basically, start with my opponent bend over, whether it be from a kick or whatever it may be. I'm going to take double underhooks right here, lock, lock him into position. We're going to bend together, bend please, and then I'm going to lift up, arch my back, take him over, and land with my belly and him flat on his back. We'll go ahead and demonstrate that for you now. It's called a double underhook or a butterfly suplex. Excellent. Okay. Next, pardon me. Next, we'd like to do fisherman suplex. If you want to go ahead and work with him on this, you okay?
Yeah.
This is not for the weak at heart here. Okay, fisherman suplex, basically something you've seen probably called the perfect plex, same thing. Basically going for the standard suplex, you're hooking, if you could turn the position here, you're hooking the inside of the leg here, you're going up, you're arching, you're holding the leg, and you're bridging to avoid pinning yourself and putting him in a pin. Go ahead and demonstrate for you. Now you see he's bridging, he's keeping his shoulders off the mat so he's not pinning himself, and he's holding the cradle on his opponent. Good. Okay, we're going to go ahead and show belly-to-belly suplex. There's a couple variations on this. There's the standard belly-to-belly with a pickup, turn your opponent and land flat, and then there's the release belly-to-belly, which I prefer 10 times over the standard. So we'll go ahead and show both the techniques, if you will. Good. That's the pick up and release. And now if we could show the actual just release or throw belly to belly. And we're going to need to switch out our suplex partner here because this guy's taking a beating. Excellent. Okay, if we can get another person in here, we have volunteer. Thank you. Needless to say, you want to talk about pro wrestling being fake, there's no way to fake this stuff. These guys are taking a beating, that's all there is to it. Covering suplexes, we're going to go now into what's called a belly to back suplex. If you can demonstrate, please. Basically, you're getting behind the opponent, you're putting his arm around your head, you're reaching around the waist, you're catching the left arm underneath his left leg, picking the opponent up, go ahead, full speed, and falling back together. Now you want to avoid dumping him on his head here. Go ahead and fall back, please. Excellent. Now obviously your opponent needs to tuck his chin there and keep his collar, his arms up high, and with his traps flexing up to protect the neck region, because there's an angle that you can land on here that's pretty steep and get away with it before you land right on your neck. Let's go ahead now, if we could, into the T-bone suplex, please. Okay, basically what we've got here, if you see, is he's ducked under the arm, he's reached around the neck, and he's coming under, reaching around the leg, reaching around the neck. It's loose. You're not going to lock any hands on this. It's fairly loose. Go ahead, please. As you can see, he's basically arching his back, picking up from his opponent, throwing and releasing. Called the T-bone suplex. If we could go into the Northern Lights now. Now, on the Northern Lights, as you can see, what he's done here is he's basically caught the left arm, picked it up, put his head up underneath the armpit. So it's basically, this guy's got him in a front face lock, and he's wrapped his arms around his opponent's back, and he's got him locked. Now he's going to basically take him over the top. He's going to bridge and hold it in pin position once again. Excellent. Okay. Now if we could go into the German suplex, please. Now the trick on a German suplex is to make sure that you're lowering, when you go to throw this, is that you're lowering your hips below your opponent's hips, okay? Make sure that your head is below your opponent's head, and his shoulders are basically almost at your eye level to be safe. And then of course, you're wrapping your hands around his waist, very low on the waist, not high. You're picking him up with your hips, you're bridging, you're arching, and you want to avoid, one thing on this, turn your head so he doesn't run across your nose. Happened to me 20 times, and yeah, or release. There's two variations on this. You can either release it or you can stick it. So go ahead and demonstrate. That was a very high release German suplex. Very dangerous move there. Don't be trying that one at home. No way. My bridge is. Okay, here goes. This is a bridge suplex. Good. Now, as you can see here, he's got his hips. He's got himself pulled low enough to where the guy didn't land on his face. If you're high on this, as you go up and go over, the guy will land directly on your face, and it's pretty ugly. All of his body weight landing on your face. You all right there, Porter? Okay. Okay, we're going to demonstrate another move for you called the sidewalk slam. Basically, you're throwing your opponent in off the rope. We'll do this about half speed here. As he comes back in, I'm turning sideways, and I'm catching him. Let's cheat for the camera here. I'm catching him with one arm right around here, one arm right up underneath the leg. And I'm basically picking him up from this point to right here, okay? And we're going to have these two demonstrate from this position. You basically, we're going to have you go ahead and pick him up, turn, and drop, okay? Good. Okay, just like all the other falls we've demonstrated here, you're going to want to tuck your chin into your chest. And another little technique that's very helpful when you're taking these falls, basically exhale when you hit, because there's no tricks to this. These are real falls, and there's a little bit of canvas on this wood, a little bit of canvas, a little bit of mat on this wood, but it's still stiff as hell. So the only trick here is basically exhale and try to stay loose. Okay. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and demonstrate a move called an atomic drop. If you want to work with me on this one. Basically, we'll demonstrate this off of, let's say, throw a clothesline. We're going to say you should duck a clothesline into an atomic drop here. If he throws a clothesline here, I'm going to basically duck the clothesline, catch right here around the waist. He's looping around. I'm catching right here, just like I'm doing the same movement exactly, as a matter of fact, as the belly to back suplex. So once I'm behind him in this position, he's arched. I'm picking him up. I'm getting low. Now you'll see where I am. I'm all the way down at his hips. My shoulder's in his hips. I can pick him up and I can sit him on my shoulder for quite a period of time here. Up. Now you see where I have him here. I can pick him up and turn him around fairly easily here. And then basically I'm coming down onto my knee. Now, the key thing here, you're extending your knee out and dropping him down on the knee. He needs to obviously keep his feet and his legs from bending too much. If he bends his knees as he drops, he's going to end up putting all of his weight on your knee, causing some problems with your knee, your ankle, and to his pelvic bone. So we'll go ahead and demonstrate this full speed, if you could. Good. Okay, now we're going to go and show the reverse atomic drop, which is a front version.
Let's go ahead and spin all the way around.
Yeah, spin all the way around into a reverse atomic drop. Duck the clothesline once again. Okay, good. Oh. Okay, good. We're going to demonstrate another move for you. This is a variation of a takedown to get the guy down, called a Russian leg sweep. Basically, on this move in particularly, I'm going to pull the arm forward, my opponent in front of me. Say I start off with a kick to bend him over, feeds in, kick to get him over here. I pull the arm forward, wrap around the chin, wrap my leg here. We lean forward together, and then I pull him back, holding the chin, holding the arm. We both go back to our backs. We'll go ahead and demonstrate this. Okay, I want to have that demonstrated again because that was actually not the right technique. If you stand up. One of the main things on this is that you're actually looping your leg deep into his, and you had your leg loose. Yep. Now I want to be sure we cover that properly. Okay, he's got his leg deep. He's got the arm right up here, right about there. He's got his hand around the neck, the chin. He's got the chin, okay? Basically going to lean forward together, pull back, and land, both take back bumps at the same time. Good. Okay, now your opponent's down. From here, we're going to demonstrate elbow drops and leg drops. A lot of variations on this. We'll start out with just the basic. We'll go ahead and turn you around, Joe. Okay, basic leg drop. Basically, you're going to land with your heel making impact with the leg in a bit of an angle across the neck region. Obviously, you want to avoid too much impact with the nose and the face region. I'll start out with a standard jumping leg drop, and then we'll show you some variations. Basically, I'm going to come in here, jump, and land. Now, obviously, I've got a little bit of an arch here, but I am making quite an impact on the face, and of course, my heel's hitting for impact. That's the standard jumping version. The sliding version, if you stay in place, I'm going to basically run off the rope, and I'm going to slide in. It's the same deal. I'm slapping my heel when I hit. You got quite an impact here. The key for this guy is basically going to be turn his head because, you know, once again, it's all pretty intense impact. Here we go. Okay, and as you can see, I basically slide across and slap my heel down on top of him. It's going to be done over and over again. I'm going to do this one in slow motion for you, a little slower. As I come across here, I'm coming across this hip, getting my foot across his face, and I'm slapping my heel down. Demonstrating the same speed. And basically, it's the speed, the intensity, and the impact here that's going to make this look intense. And this basically can look like you're taking a guy's head off without doing too much damage. Now we're going to go ahead and demonstrate dropping the elbow from the same position. A lot of variations on this one. Basically, you can come straight across. and you're going to form a V once again, and you're going to place that V over his neck and chest. And it's going to end up in this position as you land, with most of your weight coming across his chest, your shoulder applying to his upper chest, and keeping it close to the neck. Now, when you're starting off on this, I'd recommend keeping up high on the chest until you get good. And as you get better on these, obviously, you're going to get tighter each time. And this can be done from a straight position as I'm running in and dropping. It can also be done from a turn position, starting in this way, coming in here, turning, and dropping. And I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate for you. I'm going to apologize in advance for this one, Joe, because I'm pretty stiff on this. So basically, I start here. I'm going to run across his body and catch him with the elbow. That's basically it. You see there, I do the arch across his body, and I'm landing with the elbow across the neck. And you can watch that 10 times over in slow motion, and I challenge anyone to tell me that's not real, because Joe will tell you it's pretty damn real. Let's go ahead and have this demonstrated. Both these moves, once again, you take 10 trained wrestlers, put them in the ring, you're going to see 10 different variations of both these moves, depending on their background, their style. We're going to have people demonstrate. We'll do a couple on you, Joe, then we'll switch people out so we don't kill the guy, on how they perform both the leg drop and the elbow drop. We'll start off with leg drops, go right into elbow drops. You can see some different styles from different people. Good. Now what you see there is he jumped very high in the air, came down and landed. A different variation of the same basic technique. Same situation there. He's basically coming down and slapping. Same move. Good. Now basically the same situation there. You see them all, each jumping different variations, coming down with the V of their leg across the neck, getting the slap with the heel. Joe, go ahead and switch out so we don't kill you. We get another brave volunteer to go down. Now we're going to go ahead and show throwing the elbows. If you're not comfortable with this, you know, we've got all different levels here. This is kind of a standard class for us. We've got all different levels. People who've done it for 3 months, people who've done it for 5, 10 years here. So showing all different techniques and levels. Go ahead and show elbow drops, please. If you're not comfortable, don't do these. Okay, now that's a little loose for me, honestly. You see where he landed on this was back here, just tap the edge of the body. Now you go ahead and start out when you're doing them this way for safety purposes. The impact's good, you see him still hitting, but as you get better on this move, you want to work closer and closer to the face to where you end up basically in a V over the head. Good. Good. You can see there, they get good air, good lag time in the air, and come down with a nice impact. Good. That's another variation you just saw there. It's a little bit more of a direct strike. And that's basically coming down. You can stay really low on this and come down and slap, which is similar to what I did with the leg drop when I did a sliding leg drop across and tap my heel hard. Same situation, but you're doing with the elbow drop. Good. Let's go ahead and show that one again and get a little closer to his neck on that. Good. What you see there basically is the same as a sliding leg drop as we just stated, but you're doing a sliding elbow. You're basically sliding in low and coming in with impact. We're going to demonstrate a move now. It's another variation of an arm drag. It's called the Japanese arm drag. Standard arm drags have done left arm to left arm. In Mexico, of course, it's right to right as well. We're going to demonstrate the Japanese variation, which is right to right. And there's a couple of variations on this, one of which is as your opponent comes in, you're underhooking right to right, and you're just going up and over, arching. Your opponent's taking a front flip, a front bump, and landing flat, and you're landing together. And the second variation is a spinning version where you land your belly. And that's basically, as he comes off, I'm here, I'm spinning up and under, and I'm landing flat on my belly while he's taking his flip and landing flat on his back. We'll demonstrate both of them for you right now. Okay, you can see that's a straight up and over, basically underhook, overhook, arching, flipping, landing flat. Same bump we demonstrated in tape number 1. Good. Now you can see basically he rolled through there into his stomach, and he's maintaining arm control here into a key lock. If we can get a nice tight key lock. Good. Now basically you've got control once again in a key lock, and from here, Joe, go ahead and roll back through. And we're standing in an arm bar, ready to transition into the next movement. We're going to demonstrate a move for you now called the drop kick. A couple of variations on this can be done either from a straight standing position, it can be done from throwing your opponent in. The impact on this is going to be made with your feet to your opponent's chest and basically right across his head region, bottom and top foot right here. And we're going to have and start off, have Frankie demonstrate. Excellent. Okay, basically he started from a standing position, jumped up, posted the feet sideways, pushed, and you also see he turned in the air and landed back on his belly. And of course Joe's taking a flat bump on his back. Now we're going to go ahead and show him throwing his opponent in and showing a flying drop kick. Very good. Okay, we're going to show some moves now. They're basic variations to the moves we've already done. Clotheslines, elbows, forearms. We're doing flying variations. Basically, from the person's being thrown off the rope, you're going to jump when you're about, say, 3 to 6 feet away from your opponent, and you're going to perform, whether it be the flying forearm, the reverse elbow, the flying clothesline. We're going to go ahead and demonstrate those for you right now. We'll start off with the flying clothesline, if we could, please. Excellent. Okay, now what we showed there is a duck the clothesline into a flying clothesline. That's basically a setup into the move. We're going to go ahead and show the flying reverse elbow now. Same situation, duck the clothesline into a flying reverse elbow. Excellent. And you can see he's basically jumping from about 3 to 6 feet away. He's making impact with the elbow, primarily across the chest, all the way up into the chin region, and hitting and rolling off to protect himself on the way down. Okay, now we're going to show basically ducking the clothesline into the flying forearm. 2 variations on this. We're going to demonstrate them both for you. Excellent. Okay, that's variation number 1. Variation number 2 is for the person throwing the clothesline, is after I've thrown him in, and I'm throwing the clothesline, I'm going to come off the ropes, and I'm going to throw this myself. We're both coming off the ropes at the same time, and I'm going to jump from right here. This is about an 8 to 10 foot move. As he's coming in, I'm jumping and cracking at the same time. Forearm across his head, and I'm basically basing off his chest with my hand. We'll demonstrate this. Good. Excellent. Okay, we're going to show one more variation. Once again, duck the clothesline. We're setting all this up with duck the clothesline. You can do a lot of different variations, but we're using something standard to try to avoid confusing you into a cross body. Okay? Go ahead and demonstrate this. Excellent. Now you can see he's jumping from about 6 feet away, 6 to 8 feet away. He's jumping, he's getting his body sideways, and he's basically coming right below the chin into the chest region and flying through the air and landing on him. And the opponent's basically taking a straight back fall or a back bump. It's strong impact, and these are all very solid moves. All right, another move we're going to demonstrate for you is the reverse hip toss. Same setup as a regular hip toss, but rather than being taken over with the overhook, you're reversing it and you're throwing your own hip toss on this. And I'll just walk you through it very slowly here. You're throwing your opponent in. He's coming off the ropes. You come in here for the hip toss, same way you normally would, but he blocks by hipping down and blocking with an overhook. Okay? And he's basically going to jump across and get an underhook of his own, and then he's going to flip me over. I'm posting, jumping, and landing flat on my back. We'll demonstrate this one as well. Excellent. Very good. Now, from the same move, we're going to show a move called the backslide. A lot of variations on this. Basically, I'm going to set it up, same situation here. I'm setting it up for the hip toss. Comes off on the hip toss, he's going to duck under. Just duck under. Okay, catch my arm here, drop to his knees and pull me down at the same time and go. Variations on this. He does it differently, obviously. We're going to show this, and then we'll show another variation from the same way you do like a neck breaker to get in. Same situation, basically blocking a hip toss, going into a backslide. Good, you can see what he's done here. He blocked the hip toss, duck under, catch the arm, slide back into position. Okay, yeah, we're going to show another variation. This is basically done off of a front face lock, correct? Push through into a, okay. Okay, excellent. This is another variation off of a shoot in. Good. Now, what he did there, you can see, same situation. We've got the hip toss blocked. Off of the blocked hip toss, basically he reaches over, catches my arm, spins us both into reverse position, and he's got what he needs right there. He's going to drop to his knees and make sure that his head is lower than mine, obviously, on this, so I don't end up rolling back off his head once again and pulling me down into the backslide into the pin. Basically, now we're going to go into what's called putting the heat on, and normally it's done with the heel or the bad guy in the match, basically beating down the good guy, and it feeds into what's called the comeback. I'll go and demonstrate just some classic heat here. Excellent. Okay, now one of the tricks on this is we want to keep the baby face somewhat alive, so we're going to give him a little bit of a comeback here. Take a little comeback, and then you're going to cut him back off. Backdrop to keep the baby face alive, and then basically he's still beaten down. He's going to come back, and he's going to get cut off right away. Excellent. Okay, now what we've shown so far is we've shown domination or heat by one of the wrestlers, primarily going to be the heel. And you're going to see basically he's going to cheat while he's doing it. He's going to be using whatever he can to keep the man down. He's going to be stomping him down. He's going to be using offensive moves. One of the main things you want to keep in mind here is keeping your opponent alive to an extent, because obviously you don't want the guy dying out there. It basically is going to limit the match. It's going to make the entire match look boring. So keeping your opponent alive but still dominating. You're building up for the comeback. Okay, so we're going to build into the comeback here. This is all, like I said, has not been prearranged or planned out. We're doing it all as we talk right now. Okay, so we can go ahead and set up for a comeback. Mikey's going to end up getting a comeback here. Don't know what they're going to use, but I'm going to describe it as I see it. Gentlemen. Okay, excellent. Nice. We're going to cover some near falls or false finishes here, starting off with some real basic ones. First one is called a schoolboy. And basically I'm behind my opponent on this move. A lot of ways to get here. We'll take you through a couple as we go to demonstrate full speed, but I want to demonstrate right now the movement. Let's start this way. Okay, I'm basically going to wrap my left arm around my opponent's waist, and I'm going to lay down to my right hip. At the same time, I'm going to lace my right arm up, basically into the groin, to the right side of the inside of the thigh, and roll him back up on top of me. If we could demonstrate, mind, please. There you go, your opponent's rolled up. Good for a 2 count, and let's show a kick out of this, please. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and show this full speed into a kick out. 1, 2, kick out. Okay, good. Now that's a kick out. That's if the move's used early in a match when you both got a lot of steam. That's a good kick out. If it's later in a match after you've both been taking a beating, you're not going to want that kind of steam. You're going to want to roll out, be tired, get back up, and face off. But it's a nice little false finish. We're going to show you what's called a small package now. This is done from the front. The schoolboy, of course, is from the back. The small package is from the front. Basically, I'm going to set this up the same way, almost exactly as I'd set up a regular standard suplex. I'm going to wrap my arm around my opponent's head. Same situation here. I'm going to put his arm around my neck, just as though I'm going into a suplex. The primary difference between this and a suplex is that I'm actually wrapping my right foot around his right foot as I go over. At the same time, I'm catching his left leg with my right arm. And for the sake of my mic, I will not be demonstrating it, but we'll have it shown right now. Okay, wrapped up just like a suplex right here, as you see. And he's going to catch his foot and roll him up. Now you see the finished product here. He's got his arm wrapped around the leg, and he's got his foot wrapped around the other leg. And it's a small package. We're going to show a kick out on this. 1, 2, kick out. Basically, you're going to need to, on the kick out, you want to keep it fairly loose. The guy's going to kick out, spring, and you want to separate. The main thing here is getting separated from each other on the kick out. Okay? We're going to go ahead and show another false finish or comeback spot called the sunset flip. If we can go ahead and demonstrate another trick on this. I'm going to throw my opponent in. We're going to throw a reversal in. On the reversal right here, he's going to bend over as though he's waiting to give me a backdrop. Okay? He throws me in. Now he's feeding for a backdrop, as you can see. Rather than taking the backdrop, I'm seeing he's doing a backdrop. I'm going to jump over him, up and over, and I'm going to, as I come over, do the frontward somersault. But this is actually a roll. And I'm going to catch my hands around his hips as I'm going over, land flat, and then he's going to wait for a moment and then sell to his back. We'll have this demonstrated as well. Good. Now, if we can go in slow motion here, before you pull to your back, I want to stop it at that point. We go about half speed on one. That was the complete movement. Is the way it's going to look in a match. Yeah, just stop at the flip point. Okay, he's got the flip right here. Now, before he's gone over here, okay, you see what he's got here. He's jumped over. He's got his arms wrapped around the legs, and he's pulling his opponent back now. The opponent's waving his arms. He doesn't necessarily have to immediately go back. You do need to open your legs so you're not pulling him onto your legs. And then your opponent basically falls to his back, taking a flat back bump. Same style, tucking the chin to the chest, landing with his hands flat. And as you pull him back, you see he scoots his hips up and applies pressure to go for a pin. You can also put your legs forward if you can get deeper and catch the legs. Catch the arms with the legs as you come up. Now, to kick out of this move, there's a lot of different methods. One of them is the ear slap with the legs. And the way I normally do this, I make sure my opponent's got his head fairly deep. And then basically you want to make as much noise as you can by hitting your heels and your feet together. Yeah. You want to basically get a slap on that, and of course, yeah, go ahead and demonstrate, please. And then separate again, and face. Okay. That's one of probably the main ways to get out of that. You can also kick out. Let's go ahead and show a standard kick out. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, kick out the same way. And then separation once again. Very good. We're going to show a couple more false finishes for you. These could be used for finishes, of course, but actually we're using them as false finishes or cut off into finishes. Basically, we're going to start off with roll through. Basically, it's going to be done off of, let's say, duck the clothesline. We're going to throw your opponent in. He's going to duck the clothesline. He's going to stop the action right behind me. He's going to stop here. Let's cheat that for the camera. By catching an arm around me here, and then he's going to run me towards these ropes. As he runs me towards the ropes, we're going to hit together, and then he's just going to roll me up into a pinning combination. We'll have this demonstrated for you. Who's comfortable with this? Very good. You see the bodies together. He's in a pinning combination here. 1, 2, we're going to kick out and show separation. There you go. Separate, roll out, face off. Okay? Excellent. We're going to show a move called it's basically another pinfall variation or near fall variation called an Oklahoma roll. It's basically a roll through cradle into a pin. Just want to demonstrate that? This is something, there's a couple of these that will be done while your opponent's on the ground. You're basically going to catch him and go for a pin. The first one, if we have your opponents down on all fours, you're basically going to wrap around, catching a cradle, roll through into a pin. So I'm going to basically scoop over, catch a cradle, roll my own stomach, my own head through into a pin. Yes. Going for a pin. 1, 2, he's going to kick out. Excellent. You see what he's done there? Very similar to collegiate wrestling. Same thing as basically a roll through cradle. I'm catching my arms around the head and the leg, rolling through, keeping my own back, not exposing my own back, rolling through and going for the pin. Now we're going to show something called a Mahi straw cradle. Same situation. My opponent's on the ground. Basically, I'm going to come over. I'm going to catch the left arm, step in with my left, roll through, step over, connect right here, and at the same time, once I've spun around, I've got his leg here, I'm going to apply pressure here. I'm going to basically use my left arm, lace up into his right arm, around, and roll through into a pinning combination. Go ahead and demonstrate this. Do it in slow motion for starters. You see, he catches the arm, spins around, holds it in place. He's going to lace his left arm up under, lace it through, and he's going to jump over himself and roll into the pinning combination. Okay. We'll demonstrate that reverse. Mikey, if you could perform that on Frankie. Basically, you know, you're in a situation here where your opponent's, we'll start up here, Frankie. I'm bashing my opponent to the ground. I'm going to basically give him a stiff forearm. He's going to drop his belly. I'm going to stomp him once, twice. He pops back up on all fours, and I'm going to go right into the Oklahoma roll. I'll set it up the way it would be in a match. You know, this can be used at any point in a match, and I'll just show you a real loose way to get there. And the first time I smash him in the back, he's dropping. As he's getting up here, I'm stomping him. There he is. He's feeding right there for the Oklahoma roll, Mahi straw cradle. I mean, I could think off the top of my head of 20 moves to do from here. So this is where, once you get a vocabulary of moves, you're going to find the ones that you like the best that are your individual moves, and you're going to basically be able to use them. Your mind becomes like a database, and you just draw off the database and go into your next movement. So from right there, he speeds up. I catch, spin around, lace left arm over, and roll through into a pin. 1, 2, kick out, separation once again. A real simple move that looks very complicated and very pretty, very simple. And that's basically the match. You saw the recipe there. It's just like baking cookies. There's various elements or ingredients. Put them all together, and you have a match.
Also available from Spy Video, Vixens of Wrestling. Get inside the down and dirty world of pro wrestling's dangerously sexy vixens. Featured on the Discovery Channel and the Learning Channel, these women are as wild as they are sexy. Warning, men with weak hearts should watch with extreme caution. Available on DVD and VHS. If you like women in prison movies, you'll love Vixens of Wrestling.